Welcome back to another video. So the weekend I had the pleasure of being invited by Tom Robinson up to his hides in Bourne in Lincolnshire. Now, anybody that's watched my videos previously will know that I've been there a number of times before. But I was invited to the pond hide because there have been a few changes recently, and Tom has now set the hide up to offer multi-species photography. So it's always historically been kingfishers, and that's not changed. I mean, on Saturday we had incredible encounters with up to 4 kingfishers. But it also offers otters during the nocturnal hours, and during the day, herons, egrets, moorhen, a number of other species. But also recently he's been having a water rail visit. Now, unfortunately, we didn't see the water rail on Saturday, but we saw everything else, and we had the most phenomenal day. Obviously, there's never a guarantee with wildlife photography, particularly hide photography. In the field photography, it's no different. And it infuriates me sometimes that people talk about hide photography as a second-rate way of photographing species, and that couldn't be further from the truth, in my opinion. Now, from somebody's perspective that has had multiple conversations, both with friends, fellow photographers on my podcast, the Wild X podcast. We talk about hide photography and the ethics behind it, and in the field photography all the time. We often get the listeners' questions sent in regarding exactly that as a subject. And take it from me, from somebody that has probably spent over 100 hours in Tom's hide alone, hide photography is not easy. And there's certainly no guarantees. So never go to a hide expecting that you're going to get easy shots, because that's definitely not the case. What you are, however, going to do is put yourself into some of the best possible opportunities to get those shots if the wildlife decides to turn up. Now, the changes that Tom's made to the hide are that it now offers multi-species photography, and he's had a number of raptors visit recently, most notably buzzards and red kites. So it was that element to the hide that we were going to go and try out for the first time. Having photographed raptors in the dike hide previously, in the wired hide, I'd never photographed any form of raptor in the pond hide before. So that was a completely new experience. And again, it was absolutely fantastic. The hide has recently been refurbished to put in photographic glass, so that you don't disturb the raptors at all. You now enter the hide during hours of darkness. So we got there at 7 a.m, I think, and we were in the hide by 7:30, which at this time of the year, December, obviously it's still dark, and we didn't leave the hide until we were picked up by Tom. So that's obviously to avoid disturbing the species, particularly the buzzards, and that's to make sure that the buzzards don't start associating the hide, or the raptors in general don't start associating the hide with humans, which is completely and utterly understandable. So once you're in, you're in. But once you're in, it's also incredibly comfortable. The hide has got carpet, it's got a log burner, it's got a kitchen area where you can make yourself food, it's got a bed with a sleeping bag. So you're definitely not going to struggle spending time there. But anyway, let me share some of my incredible 24 hours spent at Tom's pond hide with you right now. Good morning. I'm back up in Lincolnshire, back at Tom's, and today for a 24-hour stint in the pond hide with my partner in crime, Mr. Flemming. We are here to spend the day photographing kingfishers and hopefully a few raptors, and then the night doing whatever comes in. Herons, more than likely, and hopefully the otters might come in and say hello as well. So let's see what we see.
So, just to summarise the day so far, we met Tom outside the hide at about 7:30 this morning. It was still dark, and last time I came to the pond hide, we did kingfishers during the day, obviously herons, egrets, moorhen, and then spent the night shift doing herons and otters. What Tom's added this year is the hide is basically built with 3 different outlooks. You've got a front elevation which basically goes out onto the pond, then one at the back which is a slightly different pond with some reeds, and then on the side there's an area of meadow, which is where Tom puts out the pheasants. So now you obviously need to get into the hide under the cover of darkness because there's raptors coming in as well. And as I said, for anybody that had seen my previous video when we went to his dike hide, the last thing that you can afford to do if you're photographing raptors is for them to start associating the hide with people. So we came in under the cover of darkness. We don't leave until Tom comes and gets us, which at this time of the year, I mean, we're nearly the shortest day of the year. So it's going to be about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then he'll set up for the evening. But we have had 3 buzzards down at once. We've had pretty much constant kingfisher activity. Obviously, it's a stocked pond, so there are fish in the pond, but this time of year they're very, very difficult to get hold of. So what Tom actually does is he puts in dead fish. So they are frozen at sea, so they're fresh, but he uses those during the winter months sometimes to supplement the food that goes into the pond as well, the fish that go into the pond. So it's been a fantastic morning. It's been unreal. It's been full of activity. The lights actually just got amazing. This morning we were really struggling for light. The ISOs were really high, shutter speeds were quite low. But now we've got a chance of potentially getting some diving kingfisher shots, which is always the icing on the cake. So enjoy some footage of what we've seen so far and wish me good luck. See if I can get some diving kingfishers. Well, we have just had the most amazing 45 minutes, probably maybe even an hour. Had 1 buzzard down to start with, and then a second darker buzzard came in, much bigger, and then a third came in and was actually quite docile and just sat there, but 3 buzzards within 15 metres, and obviously Tom puts out a couple of roadkill pheasants, and they've just made very light work of the 2 carcasses. But we've seen kites overhead. There are at least 4 or 5 buzzards in the area, so hopefully during the course of the afternoon we might get another visit. So we've had the most incredible day at the pond hide, and I would probably estimate that there's only been half an hour where we haven't really had much activity. The Kingfishers have probably been in the vast majority of the day, as I say, with the exception of probably about half an hour. Other than that, they've always been around, and at some points up to 4, but pretty much 2 all day. Tom said when the river is in flood or at a high level as it is at the moment, it brings in more birds. So great time of year to be coming if you want to get kingfishers for sure. And they are constant, chasing each other around, being territorial, fishing, hunting. Yeah, amazing, male and female. So now time to set up for this evening. So Tom's going to put some flashes out, and then we will bed down for the next 12 hours or so. It's now 3:45. So maybe get a little bit of rest, some food, recharge, and then time for the night shift. So while we're waiting for the otters to turn up tonight, fingers crossed, I thought it'd be really useful to have a quick chat about some top tips if you're coming up to Tom's hides up in Bourne in Lincolnshire, and particularly the pond hide. So number one, it's a multi-species hide, so there's no guarantees. We know with any wildlife hide, wildlife is wild, and despite the fact that people think that hide photography is easy, trust me, it's not. So yeah, tip number one, no guarantees, but if you have half the day that we've had today, you'll have more than enough to fill multiple memory cards. Tip number two, it's a wildlife hide, but it's comfortable. There's carpeted floor, so understandably Tom asks for people to take their shoes or boots off when they come in, so make sure you bring some thick socks, or as some people have apparently, brought their slippers. It's currently December, and although it's not cold, it's probably about 7 or 8 degrees outside. There's obviously a log burner in here, but your feet can get cold, so just bring a couple of pairs of socks, and thick socks at that, otherwise you'll get cold feet. Tip number 3, bring plenty of food and provisions. There is a camping stove which runs on butane, so you can obviously make endless cups of tea and coffee during the day, but also obviously it gives you the opportunity to have a stove if you want to cook yourself some food, do yourself some soup or anything like that. But you know, particularly if you're doing a 24-hour stint as we are, you need to get through a lot of energy in the day, you need to get through a lot of food in the day, so make sure that you bring plenty of provisions, because obviously particularly now that raptors are coming in, once you come into the hide in the morning, there's no leaving until the evening when Tom comes to set up the flashes. So we took the opportunity to go outside and have a bit of fresh air, but bring plenty of provisions. Tip number 4, lenses. Well, lenses and camera bodies. So because of the fact that it's a multi-species hide, and you've obviously got the outlook onto the pond and then the outlook for potential raptors, I would suggest that you, if you can, bring 2 camera bodies. If you can't, bring 2 lenses and have them set up in the 2 locations, and then just take the camera body off the back of each lens. But 2 camera bodies is useful. You'll need a tripod or a tabletop tripod, depending on how long your lens is, for the elevation that goes out towards the raptors. And I would suggest for them, you probably need a focal length, ideally on a full frame body, of between 200 to 400 mil. 400 can be quite tight, and you might end up clipping the wings if you're looking for action shots. So I would say that 300 is probably optimal. And then for the Kingfishers, similar. I would say that if you want to try and capture diving shots, 70 to 200 or 300 mil is perfect. 400 mil is tight in the frame. But then sometimes the Kingfishers perch on perches that are slightly further away around the sides of the pond. So 400 mil you can definitely get away with. More than that, 500 or 600 mil, I would probably say is too much. Tip number 5, power banks. So you will take a lot of images if you are half as lucky as we've been. So bring a power bank. I would recommend that to anybody going to any hide at any point. You can either charge it into your camera directly if you're using most mirrorless cameras, or you can use the power bank to go into a USB-C on a battery charger. But I've had a dual battery charger going all day, and particularly when you're using live view or when you're using 2 camera bodies, you'll get through a lot of batteries. So a power bank, I would suggest, is always a really good suggestion to bring. I hope that's been useful. We're now going to go and wait and see and hope that we get some nocturnal visitors. All the flashes are set up, ready to go, and there's some continuous low-level lighting on the front of the hide as well, which is obviously great because it enables you to be able to pre-focus on subjects before the flashes actually engage, and hopefully it also might give us the opportunity to get some video footage as well. But fingers crossed. Well, it's about 3:15, and that brings to an end the best part of 20 hours spent in the pond hide at Tom's. It's been a fantastic day and night. We've just had a rain and windstorm come through and got some amazing footage of the heron, which I'll share with you in a second, but I'm going to wrap things to a close there.
I might do another little section when I get home just to kind of summarise the trip, but it's been fantastic. We've seen so many different species. We've had an incredible amount of photo opportunities. So another successful trip up to Lincolnshire. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a like and subscribe, and make sure you get up here to Tom's Wildlife Hides up in Bourne in Lincolnshire to check them out for yourself. I'll see you next time.